Good morning, people. This is Daniel Fitzgerald. I'm posting another video on YouTube, an update on my other videos. Canada's seen fit to privatize all my videos illegally because they don't want the truth getting out to the public. They blocked us from our appeal to the ICC as well. Canada did all that. Canada had a lot of help from their allies as well, because Canada doesn't want it. The Canadian government on Parliament Hill and the whole House of Commons don't want the world to know how criminalized their system really is, and the people in it, who are all criminals. And their judicial system security is a complete corrupted entity. And that's what my videos were all about, especially Nazi right policies being applied to my wife and I, which is essentially Hitler's restrictions, the Reichstag Fire Decree, the Enabling Act, and also the Nuremberg laws, which were applied against us, and I've maintained this position for over a decade. My wife and I don't get any support because we're not allowed to have any, because the government of Canada has, and its very corrupted security, have blocked us completely from being able to publicly disclose our case to mass numbers of people, both inside the country and outside the country. I have, over the years, I've warned the Conservative Party of Canada and the Liberal Party of Canada that I'm not going to sit back and let them strangle my wife and I's case and pretend that it never existed and the things that they covered up never happened. That is not going to happen. Canada's government fails to recognize their victims, and fails to compensate their victims, and fails to apologize to their victims, and they also are one of the greatest propagandist governments on this planet, even exceeding that of Adolf Hitler and Joseph Goebbels in destroying people's characters for the sake of protecting themselves from all their crimes they've committed. I wish to state that the federal government, House of Commons and legislature, they are the lawmakers. They like to state, all of them, the Conservatives and Liberals like to state how they don't get involved with the law, how there's a separation between state and the judicial system and security. That's a lie. That's an outright lie. My wife and I have been unable to get the appropriate attention to our case. The Russian Federation had an obligation to publicly embarrass Canada through the media over our case against the Canadian government. I'd like to indicate, since 2009, since I got out of incarceration in Toronto, I was incarcerated for 10 months, and then I was put on probation for a total of 5 years, including the sentence, which exceeds provincial crimes. All I did was threaten a politician's life by email. That my first offense, and I got 5 years. The Canadian government tries everything. They try mental illness diagnosis. They work on your emotions. They really work hard on people's emotions who are victims of theirs. If you try to cry or have tears for what they've done, whether it's yourself or your wife, they walk all over you and accuse you of being delusional. The damage they have done with their security, Nazism, Nazi balls, extraterrestrials, that's what China and Russia call them, that's true. The only way for my wife and I to get any justice out of them is for me to go out with my trailer and all my signs and just keep a steady pace out in the city of Ottawa here, notifying the entire public what they did, how they blocked us from the ICC, how they blocked us by getting NATO states, corrupted NATO states, to assist them, including the United States government, in covering up our case. Okay? So the public is going to know about it. My signs are going to be very clear for people to understand. I'll be on my scooter with my signs. I'm going to have a video camera as well, and I'm going to have my phone, and I'm going to go around and do this. And I'm going to keep doing it and keep going around and doing it until there's more attention paid to our case. The government of Canada shuts people down that where they and their underling provinces commit so many crimes against a few victims that they cover it all up, and they're great at that. They censor people. They've been censoring my wife and I now for over 10 years. They have hacked every single phone we've had, every single tablet, iPhones. They've been hacking us. The police have been illegally hacking us for their politicians who covered this up for years, illegally. So it's our turn now to bring our case to the public. They've used, CTV News, their institutions regarding public communications, the CRTC and the Privacy Commissioner are in name only. They do not do anything or investigate the government or security for unlawful activity against victims of their crimes. So I wanted to mention these things in a brief video. Now, I also saved the best for last. As you know, I've had 5 views on my 58-minute post pertaining to my wife and I's daughter, Lara Danielle Fitzgerald, directly to her in the hope that she would, all kids look on YouTube, and if she's looking for us, they refuse to tell her who we are. They refuse to tell her last name. They refuse to tell her who her parents are. They just refuse to tell her. And I'm a little bit concerned because my daughter is not on YouTube. All kids are on YouTube. I'm a little bit concerned about that. I'm very concerned. And I'd also like to state that my wife and I had a recent conference call with the Children's Aid Society of Ontario, Canada, with a gentleman there. This was arranged by the government of Ontario, where, anyway, in the conversation, this gentleman told us that our son and daughter were adopted. No, they weren't. Our daughter was living in an orphanage up until she was around, my estimation, I'm not sure, maybe between 7 and 9 years old, okay? They lied. She was in an orphanage. And then they claimed that she was adopted in 2008. That's not true. She was in an orphanage. I frankly believe that they don't know where she is. We can't get proof and evidence out of them of the adoption. They're refusing to cooperate. The government is hiding something. The Conservatives and the Liberals want to keep this case secret. They're desperate to do that. And therefore, Doug Ford maintains this legislation, the Premier of Ontario, where, when your daughter reaches adult age, and her natural parents are not allowed to contact her, that's what they've done. We're not allowed to contact her. She's not allowed to contact us. And they will not give her information about her parents. They're not, so I'm just stating that that's all garbage, okay? And that it's intentional. They don't want my wife and I to hear from our children that my wife bore in 2006-07. We did not leave our daughter. We did not give up on her. I'd like to report that this family court judge in 2006-07, Justice James P. Nevins of the Toronto, Ontario Family Court, made remarks to my wife and I. He stated in his courtroom that an independent psychiatric evaluation will be hard to come by. He stated that some parents leave his courtroom and never come back. What was the other thing he stated, Jen?
It'll be said over repetitively.
And then he said that the case would be said over repetitively. That was, and when you look at those 3 statements together from this judge back then, what did it tell my wife and I? Well, it told us that no matter what evidence we came forward with, he was not going to give us our children back. That's what he was saying. So what was the point of going? Okay, this judge should have what's the term, Jen? Recused himself out of the case. He was a corrupted, dirty judge. He was formerly a Children's Aid Society lawyer in Toronto, we found out. And I'd like people to know that my wife and I were only in Ontario for 19 days. We were from BC, but we came to Toronto from Nova Scotia. We flew on WestJet. with our little girl. My wife was pregnant with my son from Nova Scotia. We were in Ontario for 19 days, or 17 days, and they kidnapped our daughter. 17 days, sorry, I'm correcting. Yeah, right, we didn't get there till the 4th of December or something like that. The 2nd of December. And what they did was illegal. So we have to act on this now. So my signs will be mostly about my estate, and how the Ontario Superior Court intentionally shafted me from my estate. Okay. You understand, my brother has violated Ontario law and not supplied me the information required. I called the court about this, told them, and they never said anything. Anyway, the allegations stand. My wife and I, we really need an attorney. We need a lawyer. We need a civil attorney for my estate, and we need an attorney to use investigators to find our daughter. Okay, we need that done. So these are the two things that I'm going to start out with my signs on the streets of this city, and then I'm going to switch them around from time to time and post new ones on my trailer about what the government did to us. Okay, this government has no right to hold my wife and I in asylum. They have no right to block us from exposing them, the Liberal and Conservative parties of Canada, and what they truly represent. They don't have a right to do that. Okay? They're criminals. Nazi criminals on Parliament Hill. I posted my video to my daughter directly 2 weeks ago or something like that. I've got 5 views. So Canada's government and their corrupted illegal security are still blocking my videos from the public nationwide as well as outside the country. So I still cannot contact the Russian Federation UN mission in New York. The United States and Canada has decided they're blocking my wife and I's right in appeals to the UN completely. They've decided to block our right of reporting to the Russian Federation our case. As far as sending links to the ICC, it's a bunch of garbage. When I go on the International Criminal Court website in The Hague on Google, you're supposed to be able to send a direct link to the prosecutor. But the prosecutor of the ICC has only selected certain countries of origin where you can send a link from. Every signatory country of the ICC should be on that list. Canada's not on there. It's just all African countries and small countries and so on. No, I didn't actually. I gotta go now. That's it for the video. I'll post something again later. As I say, we still haven't heard from our daughter Lara. I've complained to the office of Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, and his Attorney General about this. I've also complained to him and his Attorney General about his Welland Court. Okay, and they're really going to get it on my signs. Our children and the Welland Court are the primary targets of the first round of signs throughout Ottawa. Every citizen in Ottawa, every voter is going to find out about the true nature of the Conservative parties, federally and provincially, as well as the Liberals. Okay? They can't stop that. They can try, right? But no, I don't think that's going to work. Canada needs to pay attention to us two victims. They need to pay attention to what they've done. And it's a perfect timing because they all come back in the House of Commons on September 28th, and I will be ready to go on October 1st. So I'm not worried about the cold. I'm not worried about towing my trailer. I'm not going to have a problem there. I have a gas generator. I can provide myself a heater and a chair out on the streets to nail these people. So I'm going to nail you, Mr. Prime Minister, and you, Polyev, and your parties and your provincial governments. I'm going to nail you with the Canadian people all over Ottawa, and I'm going to keep doing it. One of the main signs of concern will be the fact that the Canadian government has unlawfully been censoring my wife and I now since 2008. They've been doing this. Okay, the censorship and tracking and targeting has gone on now since 2008, illegally. So this will be on one of the signs. And also I'll be pointing out that the government of Canada has seen fit to privatize all my videos on YouTube, all of them. Some of them aren't even about our case against Canada. Some of them are long videos about model boat building and machining equipment and so on. Some of them have nothing to do with our case. So YouTube, I don't know who's controlling YouTube here. YouTube, I have tried to write YouTube and tell them that Canada's doing this. I've never gotten a response from them. YouTube has never ever sent me an email informing me that my videos are illegal or have violated their rules and regulations. They've never done that. Okay, never. So this is Mr. Trudeau and his national security controlling YouTube. It's definitely them. So I wanted to indicate this, and this will be indicated to all Canadians here in Ottawa, how the Trudeau government and how the Liberal Party and let's just say the Liberal Party of Canada and the Conservative Party of Canada have been using all their corrupted neo-colonial Nazis in security and other corruption to censor Canadians' complaints against them. And our case is the most serious one, even surpassing that of the freedom protesters, even surpassing that of Miss Litch. And what's interesting about this is our case is clear-cut. Okay, it's very clear-cut. And what shocks my wife and I is none of the lawyers in this country want to take our case. No civil attorney that deals with constitutional violations and illegal violations of people's rights and freedoms. None of these lawyers, want to take our case. Not one. Okay, something's wrong with that. With the kind of evidence that we have against the Canadian government, a lawyer would have no problem, or lawyers filing a lawsuit against the federal government of Canada for tens of millions of dollars, and we would definitely win. So, I don't understand it. The lawyers must be very corrupt. They're very politically controlled by their governments, and that seems to be the problem. Or it's the character assassination. When people find out what they did to us, everything they've done, then people are going to understand the reason for some of my reactions. And I got to go now. Shalom, God bless, and thank you kindly. Hopefully at the end of the day, all my videos will be seen throughout the world, especially my friends, the Russian Federation. They're also being held in bondage by neo-Nazi colonials of NATO, okay? Their embassy here is, they all park their cars inside their embassy. They don't park them on the street anymore because they fear criminal acts against them for which they will not be protected. So I wish you all a safe Sabbath, those who read my... And I had stipulated, by the way, that... I stipulated back in 2008-9 that Canada was Nazifying. I came to Ottawa in 2009 from Toronto, my wife and I stated that neo-Nazi colonial balls tried to gas me with a barbecue in my jail cell when I was in there for months. And failing that, then they tried to poison my food and kill me. That didn't work. Damn near did, but my wife kind of saved the day on that one. And anyway, so I'm going to go now. Shalom, God bless, and we'll see you out in the streets, Canada, okay? And we'll see what the Canadian people have to say in Ottawa about the Canadian government when I'm done. Shalom.